Welcome to the U-Turn Podcast. My friend, this is Ashley Stahl. I'm your host, and you are in the right place if you're ready to create a business, a career, a personal brand, or just a life that you're so proud of. And every single week, we want to support you by bringing you PhDs, subject matter experts, psychology practitioners, business leaders, all here on the show to elevate your success in business and also in life so that you can leave a legacy, you can amplify your authority, and you can really skyrocket the amount of opportunities you're creating for yourself in your career, whether you're corporate or you're a business owner. And if you are new here, again, my name is Ashley Stahl. I'm an international bestselling author of the book U-Turn, Get Unstuck, Discover Your Direction, Design Your Dream Career. And most importantly, I'm the CEO and founder of Wise Whisper Agency. I'm a top 100 TEDx speaker on the internet, and I was so inspired to create Wise Whisper and help clients craft their signature talk. We've helped hundreds of clients craft their talk, and we've also helped so many of them land spots on some of the biggest stages in the world, including the TED and TEDx stage. And so I am here on a mission to help every changemaker I know impact millions. Also, before we get into this episode, shout out to our friend Andy B. Mackin, the artist that has gifted us this sick new music for the podcast. Let's get into this week's episode. All right, U-Turn friends, you know how important it is to me to bring people with heart and a lot of soul and a lot of expertise on the show. And today I wanted to bring Tanner Clark onto the show because not only does he have a TED Talk called 1 Second of Strength, you know how much at Wise Whisper we love a good TEDx talk, but he goes all over the world as a speaker talking about resilience, talking about courage, talking about strength. And while he talks to teens all over the world about this, he talks to all sorts of audiences about this. So today, this episode is going to be a nice little bite for you of courage. So if there's something going on in your life, you're not really sure how to really step up for it, you're feeling some resistance, that's what this episode is here to help you with. So without further ado, thank you so much, Tanner, for coming on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. And I first of all, it's so funny. We've helped, more than 100 clients craft and book their TEDx talks. So I always look at them with a certain type of eye. And
Sure.
I just think you're such a wonderful speaker, so relatable, and I could hear your care. What is it that got you into speaking about resilience? Usually it's that we weren't as resilient as we wanted to be.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not your case.
No, I think it is for me. And I was that unmotivated teenager. I didn't care about school, didn't care about any of that. Enough of a challenge for my parents that they actually sent me to like a summer work camp so I could try and learn like how to be a better human being. And I think that sometimes, I don't know, maybe it's our past traumas, and not that I was traumatized by that, but like who we were is really who we can help. And so I think that over time there was just this, I don't know, just this need to help people who maybe are struggling a little bit, struggling to be motivated, struggling to find their place in life so that they can recognize that, hey, sometimes if you're an unmotivated teenager, you can become a motivational speaker. Sometimes when you're struggling in life, it's going to be okay. You're going to make it through. And I just believe that we all have that inside of us, but we have to make the choice to move forward. And I think too many people just get stuck in this comfort, in this lack of ability to make the choice to move forward because of fear, because of self-doubt, because of imposter syndrome, because of not knowing how or not what the future is going to be. And so we just stop and we decide to just be, and there's no joy in that in the long run. So
It's interesting for me. Like, I spent 12 years as a career coach before I started my agency, and I felt like my cup was pretty full a lot just from my own mindset. I worked really hard on it. I still work on it. It's never done, right? But there was a tipping point where I felt like, gosh, it's such an achievement to just live here and be here on this planet and do the things for myself. It started to feel hard to help other people with their mindset. So I acknowledge you because it's real work to be the person that can help people with their mindset. What do you think? You gave some statistics in your TEDx talk about scrolling. I would love for you to just get right on into those here, because I think a lot of people don't realize how much time they're losing in their life scrolling.
yeah, I would challenge anybody to go onto your phone right now and just look at your screen time, and you will be shocked. I don't care who you are, you're an adult, you're a teenager, it will shock you and probably give you that little pit in your stomach that we are wasting away our time and our life. And, there's studies that show that the average adult in the United States picks up their phone 144 times a day. And I'm here to tell you that is distraction. It is not using your phone as a tool. And if you think about the life you want to live, you think about where you want to get to, the long run. What is your ultimate goal? It is nearly impossible to get there if we are spending that much time or picking up our phone that many times. So adults on average are spending about 67 days out of the year on their phones. Teenagers are spending about 81 days out of the year on their phones. And if you think about becoming the best version of you, right? Teenagers, I tell teenagers when I speak in schools or adults, if you want to be the best version of you, how can you possibly do it when you are spending about 1/3 or 1/4 of your year scrolling on your phone, watching other people? And I think what it comes down to actually is that I believe that we are happiest when we are creating and we are growing. That brings joy. It brings joy to me. It brings joy to other people. The challenge is that the smartphone has turned us all into consumers, and we just scroll and scroll and scroll. And we watch other people's lives, and we don't build our own life and our own dream. And for whatever reason, if it's because of distraction, if it's because of procrastination, it's because of just pure, simple dopamine, because what we're trading in the moment is instant gratification, something that feels really good for a moment, for something that is going to feel really good for a lifetime. And that's the trade-off that we have to choose in our life. And I believe we do that with our 1 second of strength. And we do that by figuring out what matters most to you. And when you solve those pieces, and might take a little bit of work, might take a little bit of energy, might take a little time, but when you solve that nugget of what matters most to you in your life, then you can make those appropriate choices to move forward to where you want to get to.
In one of the TEDx talks that we're helping our clients craft, they said that we found the statistic we talked to them about, where Daniel Levitin, the psychologist and neuroscientist, he said the amount of scientific information we've discovered in the last 2 decades, the last 20 years, is more than all the discoveries up to the beginning of language. So in other words, as a human society, we've gained more information in the past 20 years than in the past 200,000 years combined. So I think that this barrage, can lead to cognitive overload, which I think, and I've read the definition of that, which is, the situation in which the demands placed on a person by mental work are greater than the person's mental ability to cope with. It's like we're only able to handle so many decisions a day, so much information per day. So you talk a lot about resilience, and obviously it's no secret that we're not being resilient a lot of the time. We are scrolling and distracted. What do you think is at the root of this? Like, why are we not choosing differently?
Yeah, I think that most people just aren't really clear with what they want out of life, right? And if you think about teenagers just in general, like you're at the beginning of your life, right? Adolescence, like you just don't know what you want yet. And it's okay. It's okay not to know where you're going to get to. And I bet if you look back 5, 10, 15 years, you probably didn't think you were going to be where you're sitting right now. And if I looked at my teenage self and said, hey, by the way, unmotivated teenager, you are going to be a motivational speaker. You're going to be on this incredible podcast one day. And I'd be like, yeah, that's funny. That's not going to happen. And so I think a lot of times we just don't know. But then what the challenge is that once we get going, that distraction piece of it just feels so good. And when we're spending so much time scrolling, we are forgetting how to be productive, normal human beings in the world that you and I would define that is, right? Like, have you scraped your knee and like just dealt with it, right? Have you fallen down and stood back up on your own? Or did mom and dad help you? Or did you not figure out, you just chose to not deal with the pain, not deal with the trauma? And anything that we want to accomplish in life, we've got to go through the pain, through the difficulty, through the challenges. And instead, we chose to just sit down and scroll longer, right? We just defer every pain, every trauma, every struggle. And it creates this world where we're just never going to grow enough to get to where we want to go. And the simple answer is you've got to focus on that growth and being really acutely aware of what is. Because I just believe that in today's world, if we are not intentional with our time, intentional with our energy, intentional with our efforts, then we will always be unintentionally distracted. And that's the worst position that we can possibly be in, because then we're just never going to progress to where we want to go.
When you think about businesses growing their sales beyond forecasts, you probably think about a product with very high demand, a very focused brand, and influence-driven marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business making selling simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Shopify is home to the number one checkout on the planet, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout brands like Mattel and Heinz use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/U-turn, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/U-turn to upgrade your selling today. Again, that's shopify.com/U-turn.
Yeah, it's so true. I think a lot of people, they choose distraction because they don't want to feel how they feel, whatever it is. But a lot of people don't know how to feel. So I think kind of bringing it back to the question of like how, and somebody asked me the other day, how do I feel my feelings? I'm like, great question. I just feel all them because I've been at this for so long, I guess. But yeah, how do you recommend people start to actually tune into what's really going on inside of them so that they're not choosing other mechanisms to gloss over life?
Yeah, I mean, I would, and you say, how do you feel your feelings? Well, you just kind of have to feel them, right? Like you just have to live with that and be with that. But you don't have to stay with that. You then, once you feel those things, then you get to choose. And that's where I talk about your 1 second of strength. The 1 second of strength is this ability, this moment where you have to hack that emotional part of your brain. We talk about the limbic system and the emotional response center of our brain, which is what smartphones target, right? And so we've got this emotional response center, but we've got this beautiful part of our brain, which is all about choice. It's all about logic. It's all about decision making. And in that moment of feeling your feelings, then make a choice of what is the feeling that you want to shift to or you want to change to. So if you are feeling really negative, you are feeling some of this past trauma, some of the things that you're going through, well, you can live there for the rest of your life if you don't choose something different. And you just have to choose that moment of gratitude. You have to choose to focus on something that is going to give a little bit of life to you. You have to choose to stand up and walk outside and feel the sunshine on your face. You have to just choose those things. And in that moment, when you implement your 1 second of strength, that's the 1 second that you have to shift from whatever that emotion, whatever that feeling, whatever that negative thing is, to, hey, I'm going to choose a different emotion and I'm going to live with it. And it doesn't mean that you're burying the past. It doesn't mean that you're not fighting through the thing that you've been dealing with. It just means that you're choosing not to live there for the rest of your life, because at the end of the day, you are worth more than that. You are worth the next best version of you, but sometimes you have to choose to walk away from the version that you were before.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you talk about 1 second of courage, and I love this thinking. I live by this thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's I've used it a lot in breakups, honestly, like been like, okay, this isn't the right thing. And I could make this a whole month-long saga of resisting letting go of this relationship, but instead I just take 1 second of courage. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think when we think about your 1 second of strength, it is really this courage that you have to have. And so I just believe that there is this courage that lives within each one of us, but you have to move forward. And so when I think about it, you don't have to be 100% courageous all of the time. You don't have to be like this embodiment of this courageous person. You just have to choose like 51% courage. It's that 51% that is going to enable you to walk away from that 49% fear. If you think about the cowardly lion in whatever the movie is called, why can't I think of that movie? Anyway, you think about the cowardly lion, that cowardly lion was mostly cowardly, but it was just that one moment of courage that made that that line and move forward. And that's ultimately what we get to do. We get to choose that 51%. We get to choose to tilt the scale in our favor and just take one step forward. And when we take that one step forward, it gives us that confidence. It gives us the opportunity to take one more step forward. So
I was just listening to you share that, and I was just thinking to myself, like, it takes so much to be the kind of person that can create that 1 second of courage you're talking about, that 51%. I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily have an environment that they're growing up in that really encourages courage.
yeah.
Like, what would you say for somebody who's listening right now that really feels like, and it's interesting, we just helped about 8 clients get booked for all sorts of stages. A few of them were for TEDx this week. And one of our clients, she wrote back, and I could tell she was wavering on if she was even going to show up.
Mm.
And that's hard for me because as an agency, like, our job is the transaction, right? Like, we help you with your crafting your talk. We help you with booking it. But like the emotional side of it, the career coach in me used to be able to do that. But with my business being so big right now with what we're doing, it's like, I don't have the same capacity to coach somebody through that 1 second of courage. So I was thinking about this woman because I just thought, wow, she paid all this money to get our help crafting her speech. We got it booked with her. We helped her do it. And now I don't even know if she's going to give it.
Mm.
And it's like, she's somebody that could really use that 1 second of courage. Yeah. What would you suggest for somebody who's like struggling to be in a reality where that's something that they feel like they could do?
Yeah, I think there's a process of looking in the past and looking in the future. And when we look in the past, we can see that we always had that courage. And it might not have manifested in like these magnificent, brilliant ways that we can just like go, oh man, you've done that, you did that. But sometimes it's just that little step forward that you have always taken. I would say it took 1 second of strength for this client of yours to reach out to you in the first place, right? It took 1 second of strength to make that little choice, because that moment where you push send on that email or you push send on that form to fill out or whatever, that moment, you did it. You've already done it. You've already done all these difficult things. So when you look past, you recognize that you are a whole heck of a lot stronger than you ever believed you were in the first place. And when you look forward, you get to look at who you want to become. And there's a decision point right in the middle where you look past, hey, I've already done this thing, and you look forward and go, man, I can do these things. And when you decide to do that, that's where that is. And when I gave my TEDx talks, so when I was accepted, I got the text message, and like, it was this weird moment and probably a little bit too TMI because I was about to get in the shower. So I was like raw, right? Like completely naked, raw. And like, it was this moment of euphoria, like ecstatic, like, oh my gosh. And it was immediately followed with this, oh crap. And then it was followed by this, like, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And it was this cycle that happened for about 24 hours of excitement, fear, imposter syndrome, over and over and over again. And that night I was at a concert and I was sitting back, and I was just this wave of emotions over and over and over again. And I looked around at the audience in a moment of imposter syndrome and fear. And I looked at the audience and I went, nobody else here's a TEDx speaker, just me. And it was this moment of clarity, this moment of like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And from there, once I was able to flip my brain with that 1 second of strength, that one moment of courage, and decide that, hey, nobody else is this, I'm this. Then I assumed an identity of something that I was trying to become in the future, because I said in that moment, I am this, nobody else is. And so for your client, look past, celebrate that, look forward, who do you want to become? But in the moment, you already are. You already are. You just have to take that one additional step and choose to do it. And it's not a choice of, hey, can I get on the stage in a month? No, it's, I'm choosing right now that I am this.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about how TEDx, doing the talk, just if you could say how TEDx changed your life, changed your business, changed your career. Like, who have you become through that process? I want to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I loved the process of that, of giving a TEDx talk. And I didn't hire a group like yours, and part of me in that moment of like fear and anxiety, part of me wishes I had a wingman that would have been like, hey, you're gonna be okay, it's
Yeah.
gonna be fine, because in the moment it was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think one of the challenges that I saw or I felt when I was getting into the TEDx world was when you hear them say, hey, this is about taking something from your brain and planting it in somebody else's. That's the moment where I was like, okay, how do I do this then? How do I go from where I'm at? Because the 1 second of strength has changed my life. It has changed my life in every given day, every given moment. When I get out of bed in the morning and I don't want to, it's 1 second of strength. That simple thought that I'm like, okay, let's go. So it's truly changed me. So I was like, how do I do this? How do I go from where I am and plant this seed? And so when I started that writing process, it was really about the storytelling. How do I tell the right story? How do I frame this in the right way that it's going to plant that seed in someone's mind? So I did that. Post TEDx, honestly, it's been fun. It's been fun to just, I think, on one hand, have that credential, and as a motivational speaker, to be able to send people a TEDx talk and be like, hey, yeah, no, I'm not a pretender. I'm not just some random person, but like, this is who I am. This is what I can do. This is what I can deliver to your stage and how I can help. And so I think it's just added a level of credibility to who I am and what I am and how I can impact people, adults, teenagers, whoever it is, and help them become the best version of them. And I have done that without a TEDx talk? Yeah, but I think it would have been different, and I don't think it would have been as accelerated to just a simple proof point, because TEDx just has such a name to it, right? Like wait, you're a TEDx speaker? Like there's something there. And will I give another one? I don't know. Maybe, probably.
It's a challenge. It's a
It
big talk.
well, and it may be not the right time for me to do another one, but as I sit here and I think about the different concepts and I think about the things that are circulating in my brain, it's like, that needs to be for more people. That can't
Yeah.
be for me. That can't be just for people that I go and speak on a stage or whatever. It's for more. And I think TEDx has the ability to do that and distribute a message that honestly the world needs to hear. But I think that credibility side has been the biggest piece for me, is being able to share that with people.
I love what you're sharing. And I think it's really important that people understand, like, when it comes to building a brand, there's so many things you could be doing out there, but it's powerful to hear that this one thing really was an accelerator. It's something I take pride in because I love seeing people that we can help brainstorm their talk. We can help them figure out their booking so that they can get out there and share that thing, that software chip inside of them that they
Yeah.
want installed and everybody else. And what a powerful way to do it. I mean, 40 million subscribers. What stage in the world has that many subscribers? None.
Yeah. None.
So it's
Yeah.
like, why are we spinning our wheels doing so much for our PR and our brand as business owners when there's usually one 80-20 ROI high effective thing to do? So I just think it's really cool that you did that and you kind of owned your message that way.
Yeah.
When you were writing your talk, or, crafting it, what are some tips you would give people? I mean, obviously at Wise Whisper, we're helping so many people with keynotes and books and all sorts of things, but I love kind of hearing how each person kind of approaches their own speech writing. Like, what would be your approach to getting another talk done if you had to sit down and write a new one?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Now you're gonna make me write a new talk. I think for me, it was I had the bones. I think, like, because the 1 second of strength concept existed in my brain, like it had already happened, and so it was like, okay, you've got a good thing that can change people if they hear this. But what is the softer side of this? What's the story? What's the hook? How are you going to tell people or bring people in the moment? If you listen to my TED talk, I start with just saying 1 second. What if 1 second could change your life, in that moment? And then I tell a story about my daughter and where I used my 1 second of strength and it changed me forever in that second. So I think when you think about writing the talk, whether you're starting with, hey, I've got a good story, or you're starting with kind of the meat of it, it's really about bringing those together, getting the right hook, and then And then from there, I think the biggest thing is to stay on task. And so the biggest, when I listen to TED Talks, I think that the biggest mistake that people make is they wander too much. They either don't start with a killer story, or they wander too much and don't come back to the point. And I think if you're gonna tell this story and you're gonna go 1 second of strength, this is what you need to do, or whatever it may be, right? U-turn, whatever. When you're gonna do that, you can go wherever you want, but make sure it comes back. And I think too many people get a little bit sidetracked, a little bit like, wandering all around, and don't come back to the main point.
I love that. I love that feedback. I think every speaker has a zone of genius and like little tiny nuggets. And it's really fun to hear yours. Like, start with a killer story. And if you wander away, come back to your main point. What about your stage presence? Because I mean, I know you're a professional speaker. You're out there at Wise Whisper. We are around professional speakers all day long because we're pitching people on stages beyond just TEDx. Like we are, putting people on South by Southwest, MGM, all sorts of associations, right? So what is your stage presence thing that if you could tell anyone listening, whether they're a speaker or not, to really take note of to enhance their stage presence? What would be the 1 or 2 things you would say, make sure you do this?
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple of things, and I think all of it takes experience. The first thing is I would practice. And not just, so that's easy to say, practice your talk, but I practiced every movement that I was going to make on that stage. I knew exactly if I was going to, say something over there, I practiced moving my hand as wide as I could and making a big movement about it. I practiced. In fact, if you watch my TED Talk, there's a moment where I talk about, I don't remember what I'm talking about, but I talk about like a process. I actually reversed the process. Usually I would go like this, left to right on my side. I actually reversed it right to left, so it was correct for the audience. Like little things that make a big difference. Keeping your hands, not like a dinosaur, trying to be as loose as possible. But it came down to practice. I practiced that TED Talk, I don't know, 2,478 times.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think I was happiest about when I gave that talk was the night before. And this, by the way, yesterday was my 1-year TEDx anniversary.
Oh, happy
It was.
TEDx
So
anniversary.
Thank you. And so the night before, I didn't need to practice. Like I was locked in, ready to go. And I went downstairs one more time. I went downstairs one more time and ran through it one more time because I knew that this was my TEDx stage. It wasn't someone else's, it was mine. And I was going to make sure that I left nothing else on the table. And so I think there's a process of 1, practice, but 2, practice the way you're going to give it with the movements, with the open. I practiced downstairs I set up my laptop in front of me. There was a big TV behind me because that's where the screen is going to be. And I practiced like it was an audience because I wanted to make it as real as possible. But the reality is that anybody can stand on a stage. The one piece above all is just believe in yourself, because if you got accepted to give a TEDx talk, then they already believe in you. They already believe in your message. They already believe that you're the person to stand on their TEDx stage. Now you get to just stand there and prove why your message is the right message for the audience and the world.
Thank you so much for coming onto the show, sharing your wisdom. Congrats on the TEDx talk.
Thank you.
And the impact you're making. Where can everybody continue to follow you and learn from you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Real Tanner Clark. And then you can search my TEDx talk, 1 Second of Strength. And then I also have the Second of Strength podcast that you can listen on a weekly basis there. So
awesome. Thank you so much again for coming on, and we'll be sure to put all that in the show notes.
Sounds good. Appreciate you.
Thanks for tuning in to the U-Turn podcast. I hope you learned so much in this episode and you're putting it into action today. We would love to hear from you. Slide into my DMs at Ashley Stahl or leave a written review if you're inspired. It would mean so much to us. Be sure to subscribe to the show because, as you know, the more subscribers we get, the better the guests we can bring you. And in the meantime, if you're looking to skyrocket your personal brand and impact millions,
head on over to wisewhisperagency.com to learn more about how we can help you craft your greatest talk of your life, how we can help you get booked on some of the biggest stages in the world, even the TED or TEDx stage. We'd love to hear from you, and that's it for this week.
Trying to solve, always think you know it. I've been thinking about you up against that wall. It's too late, I fell on every fall. Holding ground, no hearts. I'm holding ground, no hearts. Holding ground, no hearts. Late night drive, what you trying to do tonight? I swear you don't even try, yeah, you still I can try and make you mine, but I don't think you like guys. I don't think you like guys. I don't think I should try. I guess it's time to give up.